The country club ballroom buzzed with polite conversation and the gentle clink of champagne glasses as my father's retirement party reached its peak. 40 years of dedicated service to Henderson and Associates had earned him this celebration, complete with speeches from partners, a gold watch presentation, and enough legal industry networking to power a small law firm. I stood in the corner near the silent auction table, watching my family work the room with practiced ease, discussing stock portfolios, vacation homes, and their children's prestigious careers. All except me, of course. I was wearing a simple black dress that I'd owned for 3 years, my hair pulled back in a messy bun secured with a paint-stained hair tie I'd forgotten to replace. My hands, despite my best efforts with a scrub brush, still showed traces of ultramarine blue under my fingernails from this morning's work session. To everyone at this party, I was Elena Martinez, the 31-year-old disappointment who'd wasted a perfectly good business degree to play with finger paints in a converted garage studio. Elena, sweetheart, my Aunt Margaret approached with her practiced charity smile, the same one she used at hospital fundraisers and museum galas. You look artistic tonight. Very bohemian chic. Behind her followed my Uncle Richard, my father's younger brother who'd built a small empire in commercial real estate development. His wife Patricia clung to his arm, dripping in jewelry that caught the light with every gesture. My cousin David trailed behind them, fresh from his promotion to senior associate at a prestigious investment firm, his wife Jessica radiating the confidence that came from never having to check a bank balance. Still living in that little studio apartment? Patricia asked with false concern. I keep telling Richard we should help you find something more suitable. Maybe a nice one-bedroom in a safer neighborhood. The studio works fine for me, I replied quietly, taking a sip of water while they drank champagne that cost more per bottle than most people spent on groceries in a month. Studio, Uncle Richard chuckled, shaking his head. That's a generous term for a converted garage. Elena, honey, you're 31 years old. Don't you think it's time to consider a more stable career path? I could get you an entry-level position at my company. Nothing fancy, but it would be a start toward building a real future. My cousin David nodded enthusiastically. Uncle Richard's right, Elena. The art thing is fun as a hobby, but you need to think about retirement planning, health insurance, building equity. I could show you some investment portfolios that would set you up nicely if you started contributing now. What kind of art do you even do? Jessica asked, her tone suggesting she was asking about a particularly exotic form of pest control. Still those little paintings you used to give everyone for Christmas? The conversation was attracting attention now. Other family members were drifting over, sensing drama or perhaps just curious about the annual "what are we going to do about Elena" discussion that happened at every family gathering. She paints landscapes, my mother explained with the patient tone of someone discussing a child's finger painting phase. Very pretty, very peaceful. He's quite talented, actually. It's just not exactly a career, you know. Mom, my younger sister Amanda chimed in, resplendent in her medical residency confidence. Elena's paintings are actually really good. I have one in my apartment. It's just that the market for that kind of work is so limited. Maybe she could teach art classes or something. Make it more practical. Teaching is a wonderful idea, agreed my Aunt Margaret. Very stable. Good benefits. Elena, you should look into getting certified. The school district is always looking for art teachers. My father, the guest of honor himself, approached our growing circle. At 65, he still carried himself with the bearing of a successful attorney, his silver hair perfectly styled, his custom suit impeccable despite the evening's festivities. He'd worked his entire life to build the respected career and comfortable lifestyle that had allowed him to send both his daughters to prestigious universities. "What's all the excitement over here?" he asked, though his expression suggested he already knew. "We're just discussing Elena's future," Uncle Richard explained, trying to help her see that she needs to make some practical decisions about her career. This art phase has gone on long enough. Phase, I repeated softly. Well, yes, Patricia said with a laugh. I mean, it's been, 10 years now? At some point you have to grow up and join the real world. Look at Amanda. She's going to be a surgeon. Look at David, he's already making 6 figures in finance. Even your cousin Sarah just got promoted to marketing director at that tech company. Speaking of which, David added, Sarah's company is looking for a graphic designer. It's not exactly fine art, but it would be using your skills in a commercial setting. Steady paycheck, benefits, room for advancement. I could put in a word. The circle of family members had grown to include most of the party now. Even some of my father's colleagues had wandered over, curious about the animated discussion. I felt like a specimen under a microscope, being examined and found wanting by people who measured success solely in salary figures and job titles. Still painting those little pictures? Uncle Richard's voice had taken on the tone he used when he was about to deliver what he considered tough love. Elena, I'm going to be blunt because someone needs to be. You're 31 years old, living in a garage, driving a 15-year-old car, wearing the same 3 dresses to every family event. When are you going to get a real job and start building a real life? The words hung in the air like smoke. Even the background noise of the party seemed to fade as everyone waited to see how I would respond to this public intervention. Uncle Richard makes some valid points, my father said gently. Elena, your mother and I love that you're pursuing your passion, but we worry about your future. About your security. About what happens when you're our age and you haven't built anything substantial. Art is beautiful, my mother added quickly, but it's not practical. It's not reliable. You can't build a family or a future on something so uncertain. I looked around the circle of concerned faces. These people who loved me, who wanted what they thought was best for me, who genuinely believed they were helping by trying to steer me toward conventional success. They saw my paint-stained clothes and my modest lifestyle and my refusal to pursue traditional career advancement, and they worried I was throwing my life away. They had no idea that my little pictures had been selling for 6 figures each for the past 3 years. You know what? I said finally, setting down my water glass. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is time I considered some changes. Uncle Richard beamed. That's the spirit. The first step is admitting you need to be more practical. Speaking of practical, David added, I brought some investment brochures in my car. We could go over them right now. Start planning your financial future properly. That's very thoughtful, I replied. But I think I should probably discuss any major financial decisions with my current advisor first. Current advisor? Patricia looked confused. Elena, honey, you don't make enough money to need a financial advisor. Well, technically, I use a wealth management firm, I clarified. They handle most of the portfolio diversification and tax planning. It gets complicated when you're dealing with multiple income streams and international sales. The confusion on their faces was almost comical. They looked like I'd started speaking in ancient Greek. Multiple income streams? Amanda asked slowly. Elena, what are you talking about? Before I could answer, a commotion near the ballroom entrance caught everyone's attention. The maitre d' was escorting a distinguished gentleman in an expensive suit through the crowd, clearly someone of importance based on the deference being shown. That's Marcus Whitfield, someone whispered. He owns the Whitfield Gallery downtown. What's he doing here? The distinguished man was scanning the room, clearly looking for someone. When his eyes found me, his face lit up with genuine pleasure, and he began making his way through the crowd with purposeful strides. Oh no, I muttered under my breath. Ms. Martinez. Marcus Whitfield's voice carried across the ballroom as he approached our group. There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you. I have wonderful news about your collection. The circle of family members parted like the Red Sea as he reached us, his presence commanding immediate attention. Marcus Whitfield was a legend in the art world, a man whose gallery had launched the careers of dozens of internationally renowned artists. His endorsement could make or break an artist's reputation. Mr. Whitfield, I said quietly, this really isn't the best time. Nonsense, he exclaimed, his enthusiasm bubbling over. This news can't wait. The Tokyo exhibition was an unprecedented success. Every single piece sold within the first hour. The collectors were literally bidding against each other for your landscapes. Your Mountain Dawn series went for $2.3 million alone. The silence that followed was so complete you could have heard a pin drop on the carpet. Every face in our circle had gone slack with shock. Uncle Richard's champagne glass slipped from his nerveless fingers and shattered on the floor. I'm sorry, my mother whispered. Did you say million? Marcus Whitfield turned to her with a beaming smile. Oh, you must be Elena's family. How wonderful to meet you. Yes, $2.3 million for just 3 pieces in that series. The complete Tokyo collection totaled $15.7 million in sales. Absolutely extraordinary for a single exhibition. 15. David's voice cracked. $15 million. And that's just this month's sales, Marcus continued cheerfully. Between the Tokyo exhibition, the private collector sales in London, and the permanent installations we've placed in major museums, Elena's annual income is approaching the 8-figure range. We're projecting she'll cross the $50 million threshold in annual sales within the next 18 months. He turned back to me, oblivious to the shell-shocked faces surrounding us. Which brings me to why I'm here. The Louvre has made an offer for your Eternal Seasons collection. They want to create a permanent wing dedicated to contemporary American landscape painting, with your work as the centerpiece. The acquisition offer is $75 million for the complete collection. The Louvre. Amanda whispered. As in, the Louvre in Paris? The very same. Marcus beamed. Elena would be the youngest American artist ever to have a permanent exhibition there. It's absolutely unprecedented. Uncle Richard made a sound like a deflating balloon. Patricia had gone completely white. David was staring at me as if I'd suddenly sprouted wings. Elena, my father's voice was barely audible. Is this real? I tried to tell you, I said softly. You just never asked about the details. Marcus Whitfield looked around at the stunned faces with growing confusion. I'm sorry, is something wrong? Did I interrupt something important? No, I said quickly. Nothing important. Just a family discussion about career choices. Ah, well, speaking of career choices, Marcus brightened, I have another proposal. The Metropolitan Museum of Art wants to commission a new series specifically for their American Wing renovation. They're offering a $20 million commission for 12 large-scale pieces. It would be a 2-year project with your work featured prominently in their marketing campaign. 20 million? Jessica breathed. Plus royalties from prints and licensing, Marcus added. Elena's work has become quite popular for high-end residential and commercial spaces. The licensing deals alone bring in about $3 million annually. He pulled out his phone and showed us a series of photos. These are from the penthouse installation we completed last week. A tech billionaire in San Francisco commissioned Elena to create a custom series for his new home. 12 pieces, $8.5 million total. The photos showed massive, breathtaking landscape paintings displayed in a space that looked like something from an architecture magazine. Each piece was easily 6 feet tall and proportionally wide, painted with a level of detail and emotional depth that made them seem almost alive. Elena painted those? Amanda whispered. Elena painted those, Marcus confirmed. In her studio. Which, by the way, Elena, the contractor, finished the expansion last week. Your new workspace is ready whenever you want to see it. Expansion? My mother asked faintly. Elena bought the building next to her current space, Marcus explained. She's creating one of the most advanced private art studios on the West Coast. Climate-controlled storage for her collection, professional lighting systems, space for large-scale work. The renovation cost about $2.8 million, but it will allow her to take on even more ambitious projects. She bought a building? Patricia's voice was barely a squeak. I sighed. I bought 3 buildings, actually. The studio space, a gallery for exhibitions, and a residential property. It seemed like a good investment. The residential property, Marcus added helpfully, is that gorgeous Victorian mansion in the Arts District. Elena's been restoring it to period authenticity while adding modern amenities. The architecture magazines are calling it one of the most beautiful private residences in the city. Uncle Richard was swaying slightly as if the room was spinning around him. Elena, you own a mansion? It's not that big, I said defensively. Only 12 rooms. And most of them are going to be used for displaying art and hosting small exhibitions. I'm thinking of starting a foundation to support emerging artists. 12 rooms, David repeated numbly. Marcus checked his watch. Speaking of which, Elena, I hate to rush, but the transportation company needs an answer about the collection pickup. Should we proceed with moving your pieces to the secure storage facility tonight, or would you prefer to wait until tomorrow? What collection pickup? My father asked. Elena's keeping several major pieces in her private residence, Marcus explained. But the insurance company requires that anything valued over $5 million be stored in a specialized facility when not on display. Just a precaution. How many pieces are we talking about? Amanda asked. Marcus consulted his phone. 37 pieces currently in Elena's personal collection, with a combined value of approximately $127 million. Though that number fluctuates based on market conditions and auction results. The number hit the group like a physical blow. Several people actually staggered. Uncle Richard had to grip the back of a chair for support. $127 million, my mother whispered. In paintings. That Elena painted. Oh, that's just her personal collection, Marcus clarified. The pieces she's keeping for herself. The total value of Elena's lifetime work is considerably higher. We estimate her complete body of work, including pieces in museums and private collections worldwide, is valued at over $400 million. 400. David couldn't finish the sentence. I looked around at my family's shocked faces. These people who had spent the last hour telling me I needed to get a real job and start being practical about my future. Who had dismissed my little pictures as a hobby that needed to be abandoned in favor of conventional success. Elena, my father's voice was hoarse. Why didn't you tell us? Why did you let us think? Think what? I asked. That I was a failure because I didn't have a traditional job? That my work wasn't valuable because it didn't come with a corporate title and a business card. But you live so simply, my mother protested. Your clothes, your car, My lifestyle choices aren't about what I can afford, I interrupted gently. They're about what matters to me. I don't need designer clothes or luxury cars to feel successful. I need to create art that moves people, that makes them feel something real. Marcus nodded approvingly. Elena's dedication to her craft is legendary in the art world. She works 12 to 14 hours a day in her studio. She's turned down lucrative commercial projects that didn't align with her artistic vision. Her integrity is part of what makes her work so sought after. You turn down commercial projects? Uncle Richard asked weakly. Last month I declined a $12 million commission from a casino chain, I confirmed. They wanted me to create pieces that would encourage gambling. It didn't feel right. You turned down $12 million? Patricia sounded like she might hyperventilate. Money isn't everything, I said. Artistic integrity matters more than profit. Marcus checked his watch again. Elena, I really do need an answer about the transportation. The security team is standing by. Go ahead with the pickup, I decided. I trust your judgment about the storage facility. Excellent. And the Louvre decision? They need an answer by Monday. I considered for a moment. Tell them yes, but I want to negotiate the terms. I don't want my work treated as just another acquisition. I want to be involved in the exhibition design and the educational programming. Brilliant approach, Marcus beamed. I'll set up a call with their curator tomorrow. As he walked away, presumably to coordinate the movement of millions of dollars worth of art, I turned back to my family. They were all staring at me as if seeing me for the first time. Elena, Uncle Richard's voice was hoarse. I owe you an apology. A massive, groveling apology. We all do, my father added quietly. We've been so worried about your future, so focused on conventional measures of success, that we completely missed the fact that you'd already built something extraordinary. But why didn't you tell us? Amanda asked. Why did you let us worry about you? Because I wanted to know that you loved and respected me for who I am, not for what I've achieved, I said simply. I wanted to know that your approval wasn't contingent on my bank account. The truth of that statement settled over them like a heavy blanket. They realized that their concern for my future had been less about my happiness and more about their own comfort with how my life looked from the outside. Elena, my mother's voice was soft. Can you forgive us? Can you forgive us for being so blind, so judgmental? There's nothing to forgive, I said, meaning it. You were worried about someone you love. That comes from a good place, even if the execution was flawed. David cleared his throat. So, about that financial advisor recommendation I was going to give you. I'll stick with Goldman Sachs for now, I said with a small smile. But thank you for thinking of me. Goldman Sachs manages your portfolio? Jessica squeaked. They handle the conservative investments. The art market investments are managed by a specialist firm in New York. Uncle Richard shook his head in amazement. Elena, I feel like such an idiot. Here I was offering you an entry-level job at my company, and you probably make more in a month than I do in a year. Success isn't a competition, Uncle Richard. Your real estate business is impressive and important. You've built something meaningful. But not like this, he gestured vaguely, presumably encompassing my entire artistic empire. This is extraordinary. It's what happens when you follow your passion and work harder than everyone else thinks is reasonable, I said. And when you get lucky with timing and market conditions. Luck had nothing to do with it, my father said firmly. This is talent and dedication and vision. We were just too caught up in our own definitions of success to see it. Marcus reappeared at my elbow. Elena, the transportation is arranged. Your pieces will be secure by midnight. And I've confirmed the call with the Louvre for 9 a.m. tomorrow, Paris time. Shall I arrange for the private jet, or would you prefer to handle the travel yourself? Private jet, several family members said in unison. I'll handle my own travel arrangements, I said quickly. But thank you for coordinating the call. Of course. Oh, and the documentary crew from Arts and Culture wants to confirm the filming schedule for next week. They're very excited about the behind-the-scenes piece on your creative process. Documentary? Amanda asked. PBS is doing a feature on contemporary American artists, I explained. They're filming a day in my life, interviewing collectors and curators. It's part of their effort to make art more accessible to general audiences. My daughter is going to be on PBS, my mother said wonderingly. Assuming the filming goes well, I cautioned. Marcus laughed. Elena, you're the most articulate artist I've ever worked with. The filming will be fantastic. He checked his watch one final time. I really must run. The art world never sleeps. Elena, enjoy your father's party. You've earned a night of celebration. As he left, the circle of family members continued to stare at me in various states of shock and awe. Elena, my cousin David said slowly, I have to ask. When you said you were fine financially, what did that actually mean? It meant I'm fine financially, I said with a shrug. I can pay my bills, save for the future, and pursue my work without worrying about money. But specifically, Patricia pressed, what does fine look like when your paintings sell for millions? I considered how much to reveal. My accountant estimates my current net worth at around $180 million, not including the value of works I'm keeping in my personal collection. The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of Patricia's champagne glass joining Uncle Richard's on the floor. $180 million, my father repeated slowly. It's not about the money, I said quickly. It's about creating something that outlasts me. Something that will still move people and inspire them long after I'm gone. But the money doesn't hurt, David said weakly. The money allows me freedom, I agreed. Freedom to take risks, to experiment, to turn down projects that don't feel right. It's a tool, not a goal. Uncle Richard was shaking his head. Here I've been bragging about my successful real estate business, and my niece has been quietly building an art empire that makes my net worth look like pocket change. Success isn't a competition, I repeated. Besides, your business provides homes and commercial spaces for people. That's important work too. But Elena, Amanda said, why do you still live so modestly? If you have that kind of money, why not? I don't know, live like it. Because that's not what makes me happy, I said simply. I don't need a fancy car or designer clothes or a huge house filled with things I don't use. I need time and space to paint. I need the freedom to create without distractions. But the mansion Marcus mentioned is primarily a gallery and workspace, I explained. The residential portion is quite modest. I care more about having good natural light and proper ventilation for my studio than I do about marble countertops or gold fixtures. My mother was looking at me with new eyes. Elena, I feel like I don't know you at all. All these years you thought I was your struggling artist daughter who needed guidance and worry and intervention, I finished. And I am your daughter. The struggling and artist parts are still true too. Every painting is a struggle. Every piece teaches me something new about my limitations and possibilities. But you're not struggling financially, my father said. No, I agreed. But financial security doesn't eliminate artistic struggle. If anything, it makes it more important to stay connected to what drives the work. Is that why you volunteer at the community center? Amanda asked suddenly. Teaching art classes to kids? Partly, but mostly because those kids remind me why art matters. They don't care about market value or critical reviews. They just want to create something beautiful. Uncle Richard was still shaking his head in amazement. Elena, I owe you such an apology. All those comments about getting a real job, about being practical. You were trying to help, I said gently. You were worried about my future because you care about me. But we were so condescending, Patricia said, her face flushed with embarrassment. So dismissive of your work. You didn't know, I said. And honestly, there were times when I wasn't sure myself. The art world is unpredictable. Success isn't guaranteed just because you work hard. But you never gave up, my father observed. Because I couldn't, I said simply. Painting isn't just what I do. It's who I am. Even if I'd never sold a single piece, I would have kept creating. And that's what makes the difference, David said thoughtfully. That's what we were missing. We were measuring your success by external standards, but you were measuring it by internal ones. Success is personal, I agreed. For some people, it's climbing the corporate ladder. For others, it's raising a family or serving their community or mastering a craft. There's no universal definition. My mother reached over and took my paint-stained hand. Elena, can you forgive us for being so narrow-minded? For trying to force you into our idea of what your life should look like? There's nothing to forgive, Mom. Family means wanting the best for each other, even when we disagree about what best looks like. But we were wrong, she insisted. You found your path, and it led to something we never could have imagined. You weren't wrong to worry, I said. The art world is risky and unpredictable. Most artists do struggle financially their entire lives. You had legitimate concerns. But we should have trusted you, my father said. We should have believed that if anyone could make it work, it would be you. You do trust me now, I pointed out. That's what matters. Uncle Richard raised his champagne glass. To Elena Martinez, world-renowned artist, and to the rest of us learning that success comes in many forms. To family, I countered, raising my water glass. And to supporting each other's dreams, even when we don't understand them. As the evening wound down and the last guests departed, my family gathered around me with new respect and understanding. They had learned something important about assumptions and success and the danger of measuring other people's lives by your own standards. And I had learned something too, that sometimes the people who love you most need to see your achievements recognized by the outside world before they can fully appreciate what you've built. It wasn't ideal, but it was human. 3 months later, the PBS documentary aired, featuring my family prominently in segments about the importance of supporting artists. Uncle Richard had become one of my biggest advocates, using his real estate connections to help other artists find affordable studio spaces. My father, in particular, had embraced his role as the parent of a successful artist. He'd started attending gallery openings and art fairs, learning the language of the art world with the same dedication he'd once applied to legal briefs. But the biggest change was in how we talked to each other. No more assumptions about what success looked like. No more dismissive comments about unconventional career paths. We had all learned to ask questions instead of making judgments. And every family gathering now included a new tradition, a toast to following your passion wherever it might lead.